Awesome. Well, guys, thank you. So happy Friday, everybody. Can't believe it's another Friday. So on a personal note, if for those of you that attend with us weekly, my dear friend, my partner in crime, Damon, was off last week, had a little sad news in his family, lost his dad. So Damon, our thoughts and prayers have been with you. Thank you for all you've done. Welcome back. And, our prayers to you and your family. So glad to have you back with us, buddy.
Thanks so much, Kurt. Well, welcome everyone once again to our weekly Manufacturing Ecommerce Success Series. If you're on LinkedIn, join us. Go ahead, make sure to drop where you're listening from in the comments, and we will get rolling here because we are ready to have Celia teach us about cybersecurity in manufacturing. Take it away, Kurt.
So guys, happy Friday. Celia, thank you. We have Celia Paulsen from NIST, N-I-S-T. That's a National Institute of Standards and Technology, federal government agency. She is a cyber security expert. So Celia, I feel compelled. Usually I'll summarize, do a little digging on our guests. I do a little intro. Damon, this is so profound. I have to read it. So first off, Celia is a veteran, served our country, very proud. So Thank you for your service. Let me just share a little bit. And sorry, Celia, take away from your presentation. You're a very humble person. I need to share this. She supported operations in Iraqi freedom, enduring freedom, and others, monitoring intelligent databases, analyzing data, and multiple software tools. She wrote more than twice as many technical reports with 100% accuracy. She helped improve morale on her team. She developed liaisons with linguistic teams, and she volunteered as an honor guard, color guard member, performing in funerals and at parades. So I'll tell you, guys, I dropped Celia's LinkedIn profile in the chat. Please connect with Celia. What an honor. What a gift to have you here today. Celia, welcome. Thank you.
Thanks. That all sounds a lot better than it actually was. Well, you look at the how to write a LinkedIn profile and how to do resumes and stuff, and man, it all sounds like BS when you're done with it.
Yeah. Hats off to you. Thank you for your service. And let's go back in a little bit of time. So you are a cybersecurity expert. I had the honor and privilege. You and I met at the Alaska MEP, and I was blown away by your presentation. And thank you for gifting us with your time today. But you just shared a story with Damon and myself about when did this whole cybersecurity thing start in your career? Could we go back a little ways?
Sure. So I was 8 years old.
Nice.
My brother was learning how to program in BASIC, and I was very curious about that. So I decided to jump in and force him to teach me how to program in BASIC as well. And since I was pretty bad at math, we decided that we would make me a training program to help me learn how to do math. So it would be, really simple, asking me some random math questions like, what's 2 times 6? I would answer it, and that would be that, right? So my brother, he's helping me, teaching me all about programming. I'm super excited. And it gets time for me to test this thing. And I start testing it, and it says, what's 2 times 2? And I say 4. And it says, you're wrong. I'm like, oh, I'm sure I'm right. I'm positive I'm right. So I do another one. What's 3 times 3? I'm pretty sure it's 9, but what if I'm wrong? And so I said, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going for it. It's 9. You're wrong. What? So I go to my brother and I say, I don't understand this. And he starts laughing and laughing. And yeah, it was a whole joke with him that he was helping me programming this thing that was going to always tell me that I was wrong.
You were hacked at a young age, very scarred. And so your passion, your purpose, your mission in life was to help other companies prevent cybersecurity. So God bless you. What a great story. So
thanks.
Well, hey, I know you have a ton of information to share today. We have a presentation. Do you want to go ahead and share your screen?
I'm on it.
While you're digging that in, I want to give a shout out to my buddy Jeff is on the program today. Just spoke with him this week. Tammy, Valerie, Chris, president of Gen Alpha, is on the program today. We're going to see her in a couple weeks. AJ, Eric, thank you guys for joining us today. Celia, go ahead, take right off.
All right, so I'm going to go through a bunch of mandatory stuff first and, some interesting stuff. But then, when I get through that, then I am happy to just talk with people. I have my slides and we'll go through the slides. But if you have questions, please feel free, interrupt me, Kurt, tell me what the questions are, all of this. So starting off, already introduced me. I am Celia Paulsen. I am a cybersecurity services specialist for the NIST Manufacturing Extension Partnership. Now, NIST is a non-regulatory agency of the U.S. Department of Commerce. That's important because Commerce is a very friendly agency. Its goal is to promote commerce, right? So we, as NIST, our goal is to promote commerce. We are non-regulatory. I got to emphasize that many times, non-regulatory. We do, however, in the NIST labs, we produce a lot of guidance, technical expertise, reference materials, and all sorts of stuff that is used by government agencies, industry organizations, and others. And I have to say the disclaimer, if I mention any commercial product or trade name or service or anything like that, it does not imply any particular position. I'm not endorsing, I'm not promoting, none of that. Or the opposite too. If I say something, on the negative side, that's not anything about that. Okay, that's the big stuff. NIST MEP. NIST MEP is a nationwide network. We have centers in every state in Puerto Rico. No manufacturer is more than 2 hours away from a service location. We have a lot of great feedback about us. This 84.3% or 84.3 net promoter score. That's how much people like us. They like us, 84.3%. That's pretty good. I think, we always try to make it higher, but that's really good. And then we have 1,400 in-house manufacturing experts and more than 2,000 external partners, and that's universities, subject matter experts, all types of people. So all of our centers have some cybersecurity capability, whether it's in-house or whether it's parties that they work with. And this is they do everything. Man, these people are so talented. They can do everything from exporting and reshoring, advanced manufacturing, sustainability, but I'm focused on the cybersecurity aspect. And that's what I'm going to talk about. So first, the scary stuff. Why does NIST care? Why does NIST MEP care? Well, cybercrime in manufacturing is about $36.3 billion loss in the global domestic product. That is ridiculously high. Recent study, this is from 2020, 40% of manufacturing firms experienced a cyber attack in 2019, and 38% of those attacked suffered $1 million in damage. So you think about all of the manufacturers that are in the US, and 99% of them are small businesses. How many of them can afford $1 million in damages? And that's not many. Yeah. So why are manufacturers specifically, right? Few manufacturers can be shut down for very long. What does that mean? That means that they are going to be willing to pay ransoms to get access to their systems. They are often interconnected with higher payoff targets like the Department of Defense. Attacking a manufacturer can be newsworthy, especially when you talk about something like pharmaceuticals or food manufacturers or weapon systems. It's very newsworthy. Not all attacks are, not all criminals are after money. Some just want to make the news. This one, there is a lot of use of technology that just isn't very secure, like Internet of Things or industrial Internet of Things. They're typically not very secure, so they're easy targets. And there's a huge lack of awareness and monitoring, which means that a criminal could get into a manufacturing network and not be noticed for a long time. So this last statistic is my most scary. This is from, I think it's September 2019 to September 2020. I think that's the timeline. And in that timeline, there was a 2,000% increase in incidents affecting the shop floor. 2,000%. Mm-hmm. So our appetite for advanced technology is rapidly exceeding our ability to protect it. That is why this is happening. You think about, I have pictured here advanced manufacturing systems, robotics, things like that. But think about the tablet, think about the laptop in the guy's hand. Everything that has a chip, everything that talks to something, everything that's automated, all of that requires cybersecurity protection. And unfortunately, many of us, we want the latest and greatest, and we don't always think about the ramifications of that. All right, so I've gone through the tough stuff. I've talked about NIST MEP. I've talked about the scary stuff. Now we can get on to the actual fun stuff, and feel free to interrupt me as you see fit. So another story from my past. I think I was about the same age. I think I was 7 or 8 years old when this movie came out, Joe versus the Volcano. And in that movie, Joe is fishing and he pulls up a hammerhead shark, and it is the most fake hammerhead shark you have ever seen. But ever since then, I have been terrified of hammerhead sharks. So this is just general risk management. This is how we operate in real life, right? There's a threat, a hammerhead shark. The vulnerability, I have soft flesh and I look like food.
And Celia, I'm sorry, you've told me that story before. And where did you live when you watched that movie?
Landlocked Colorado.
Yeah. You told me that before. I was dying. That you guys saw that movie. It's just such a classic scene with Tom Hanks. And
it's so fake. So fake looking.
And I'm picturing you in Colorado. That's awesome.
Yeah. And maybe that had something to do with it. Maybe because I had never seen the ocean, I was more afraid than I would have normally. But yeah. Okay, back to this. The impact. Worst case scenario, death. Average case, though, is stitches. Likelihood. Now, Kurt, when you saw my other version of this, I had it wrong. I had that there were 2 attacks annually, and it was corrected. I was corrected, saying that statistic says that it's 2 attacks from great white sharks, not all sharks.
Okay.
So
good.
I went back and I corrected it, and there are 80 attacks annually-ish.
Right.
But like you said,
not in Colorado, though, right?
Not in Colorado.
Okay, just making sure.
No. But think about this. Like, this is how we think about risk in everyday life. You think about, right now it's really icy outside. So I'm thinking about, what's the threat? The ice. The vulnerability is I have bald tires on my car right now. The impact, I could die, or I could just have a really high bill. And the likelihood, pretty high right now because of all those other things I mentioned. This is just how we think. We don't often break it down like this, but it's how we think. So what do we do about it, though? There are 4 different ways we handle risk. We accept it, we mitigate it, we transfer it, or we avoid it. Accepting, a lot of times we have to accept a threat exists. I can't do anything about hammerhead sharks unless I decided to go out and kill every single one of them. I'm not going to do that. So I'm accepting that they exist. Mitigate, I could mitigate the vulnerability by wearing a Kevlar suit. Maybe I couldn't swim very well if I did that, but mitigating is just anything that you do to reduce the vulnerability or the impact, just to reduce it. Transferring, think of insurance. That transfers risk for, if you have a car accident, transfers the risk to the insurance company. Usually not all of the risk, but a good portion of it. And then avoiding it, live in Colorado and you won't have to deal with sharks, right? So what does this mean for cybersecurity? Yeah, I like talking about sharks, but I'm here to talk about cybersecurity. So let's go back to that. The thing is that cybersecurity is a lot less about the technology and a lot more about people. A lot more about just how you think. So I have this cartoon up here, which I adore. And there's similar ones out there for like all the different fields. But I like this one the best because, of course, it's my field. But the one on the left, movie hacking, and he goes through a whole bunch of gobbledygook that makes absolutely no sense. And real hacking is much more like, hi, Kurt, what's your password? Can I have your Netflix password? Sure, no problem. That's real hacking. It's really simple. So we're taking that risk equation I talked about, and it's to cybersecurity. The threat. Now, this could be adversarial or non-adversarial. What do I mean by this? It could be a criminal, or it could be a lightning storm. That could impact your cybersecurity. The vulnerability, it could be, something internal to your systems. You have, a computer that hasn't been patched in 100 decades and is vulnerable to being hacked. Or it could be external. It could be your service provider has a computer that it's using to run your systems and it's vulnerable. Could be internal or it could be external. The impact, the most common impacts affecting manufacturers. Oh, I think that's on the next slide. But here are some ones. Impact could be theft, just somebody straight up taking your information, your personal data, your intellectual property. It could be incorrect data. So think about what if somebody changed a parameter on one of your systems, or it could be a system malfunction or a failure, a denial of service attack where you just don't have access to anything anymore. Think about that when it comes to like your bank account, or comes down to payroll and you can't actually access your payroll. Or think about it in terms of time, like how long could you afford your business to be shut down? And then there's the likelihood. And we talk about three different things when looking at likelihood. Look at the capability of the threat, look at the intent of the threat, and you look at history. Now, unfortunately, for most of us, we don't know the capability of the threat. We don't know the intent of the threat. So most of us look at just history. And that can be, news sources. It could be, subject matter experts. What have they seen? There are a lot of information sharing websites and resources out there that say, these are the things that you should probably look out for. And that's what we really rely on when we think about likelihood. I tried really hard to somehow tie that into, mystery novels and how they do, motive and all of that. It didn't work. So this is what we got. Any questions so far? Is there everybody quiet?
Celia, question I have for you. So our show is e-commerce, manufacturers. Do you encounter a lot of conversations about PCI compliance with your clients or in your space?
What's unfortunate is no.
Okay.
And since you say PCI compliance, I'm going to skip this one.
Okay.
So these are a bunch of common
okay.
requirements that are out there,
mm-hmm.
right? That the first one, anybody taking credit card information has to have PCI DSS compliant.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know it. Most people I talk to don't know that.
Right. And I've never heard of it. Could you share a little bit? Could you share a little bit about, for again, folks that are out there, our audience that want to get in e-commerce, what is PCI compliant?
I'm going to be frank in that most people don't actually need to know very much about it.
Okay.
Because most of it is taken care of by, whatever company you use to take credit card information. Visa will provide stuff and make sure that it's compliant and say, don't use anything but this. Mm-hmm. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. It gets more tricky when you come down to having a website and you start taking payment. Yep. Then you need to verify that website says that it's PCI compliant and that it can take payment.
Right.
But you don't really need to know what it is.
Right.
Just make sure that everything you do that takes credit card information, it says it's compliant.
Right. Just don't take credit card numbers over the phone and leave the papers laying around. Right.
Gosh.
Yeah.
I've had manufacturers that are just starting out and they had never heard of PCI compliance and they're just, the person in HR or somebody in customer service, hey, we got an order. And so we took here's
here's the info
card
on this sticky note.
Yeah. The credit card's on the packing, on the ticket that's going through the shop floor. And I'm like, no, you can't do that.
Okay. So yes, in that case, you should know something about what PCI compliance is.
So that's, Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. That's some of the things that I've run. I'm like, no.
I have not run into that. So
yeah, I'm like, we can't do that.
no.
Well-
But this falls under a broader category of privacy. I mean, PCI itself doesn't.
Right.
But the general idea is if you are dealing with somebody's personal information, whether it's their name, their email address, their telephone number, their credit card information, anything that has to do with a person, protect it.
Mhm.
Treat it as though it's really important.
Right.
That means not writing it down on a sticky note and putting it up for everybody to see.
Right.
That's not good.
Yeah.
Right.
And the rule of thumb here is treat it how you would want your information to be treated. Do you want everybody to see your credit card information?
Mhm.
Probably not.
Mhm.
So that's general rule of thumb there. That'll keep you safe in 90% of the time. It's just general bucket, anything dealing with a human, protect it.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I see with clients from time to time, when we talk about cybersecurity and we think cybercrime, we think big stuff, right?
Right.
But when you're in e-commerce, what most people don't realize when they start doing e-commerce is if someone gives you a bad credit card, you're on the hook for chargebacks.
Yeah.
And that can turn up into a lot of dollars fairly quick. I had a client last year that until we got it under control, they hit $5,000 in about a week. And
Ouch.
and we got the right procedures in place because they had some government buyers, honestly, and the government buying from the government with the P cards and other stuff is very unique in the credit card world because my shipping address never matches the billing address. So when you look at that in a system and you're going to be selling to government and commercial people in general, you need to have a system that can say, okay, this is a government buyer and we don't verify the shipping or that those two addresses are the same, but this is not, or this is a first time buyer. And we are, locking it down. And then also probably you want to have some sort of cyber, fraud insurance, to do it because you're just on the hook. You're on the hook. The money
Now
goes
I'm gonna say something about the insurance since you said have fraud insurance. You want to be especially careful that whatever insurance you are purchasing, that you make sure there's this, you make sure that it covers what you think it covers.
Yep.
So many of them will walk away if they find that the cause of whatever happened is because you weren't doing what you should.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, you have to do it right, or you will not get reimbursed, and that's where you have to work very closely with them to make sure you're airtight on your processes. But it can turn to thousands fast.
And they some of the insurance companies will be really nitpicky. Like, if you have a car accident and they will look for ways not to pay for it. It's the same.
Right.
They look for ways not to pay.
Wow. Great tip, Celia. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, I would have studied up a little bit more on PCI compliance if I knew you were gonna hit on this, but it's a good point.
Yeah. Yep. No.
Yeah. So, we're talking about insurance and all that. Just a couple things. The most common things affecting manufacturers, ransomware is the most common one that we see in MEP centers. And what that is somebody gets access to your network, to your systems, and they usually sit there for a while. It could be a month, it could be 2 months, and it's usually an automated thing. It's not an actual person that's there, it's some bot. But they sit there for a while. And then at some point, a bomb goes off, they're triggered, and it encrypts everything on your machines, on your whole network. And it makes it so that you can't access any of your data. You can't even, open your computer without there being a big black screen up there saying, you owe us, and they do their homework. So they will say, 50% of your revenue or something like that, but they know what that number is. They choose a number that they think you will pay, and they will put that up on the screen and say, send this to us in cryptocurrency. And otherwise, you won't have access to your data.
Right.
Now, it used to be that there was a really simple fix to this, and that if you had backups, well, then you didn't care because you just run your backups and that would wipe away the encryption and you're free. Right. They've gotten more sophisticated though, because they sit there for months, which is about the time that people have backups. And so now they're in your backups too. So you run from a backup and it'll just encrypt it again. So this is actually a huge problem. There are things to be done, like having good antivirus protections, but the key is this third one and fourth one here: social engineering and spoofing phishing. Those are how people get access to your computers 8 times out of 10. And what this is simple. It's that human aspect. It's somebody calling you up and saying, I'm the password inspector. Can you tell me what your password is? It's the Nigerian prince saying, please send me money. Yeah. But they're a lot more sophisticated now. So now it's your bank sending you an email saying, we've noticed that there are some problems with your account. Please log in. And it'll have a login and it looks like it's from your bank, but it's not. Right. So biggest tip that I can give you right now, today, actionable: do not click anything. If somebody calls you and says, I'm from the IRS, or I'm from your bank, need to verify some of your information, don't do it. Hang up. Well, don't hang up right away. Say, okay, I need to call you right back. I'm in the middle of something. Give me your name. Do not call the number that they give you. If it's an email and they say that, your bank has been compromised, don't click that link. Go to the web, go to your bank's website itself, log in that way, call the bank. You can absolutely do that, but do it from a phone number that is reputable, not someone that, randomly calls you. Okay? Biggest tip, hands down. Don't click anything. Don't answer any information. Cool.
Let's go. And Celia, that phenomenal tips. And that was one of my questions I was going to ask you, like the most common. So you just hit that.
Yep.
Now, my recollection you shared, you have some really nice strategies. I have memorable strategies of password protection. Do you want to share that?
Sure. You would pick on that one, wouldn't you? I don't think I have a slide for that though. I don't know. Let's see. Let's scroll down.
Well, I'll give everybody a hint. Every time I hear a Linkin Park song, I think of you.
That's me. All right. So passwords. Passwords is the second way people get in, and it's kind of getting up there. It goes up and down. So it goes right along with the spoofing, because what they're really after is your passwords. We call them credentials. So they're really after your credentials. So best thing to do is to have good passwords that you change often and don't repeat them on system to system. The problem with that is the longer your password is, the better it is, but the harder it is to remember, right? And then you get these people, ooh, I have a thing I should have brought. It's a little wood block that says your password must contain 18 numbers, 4 digits, hieroglyphs, and the blood of a virgin, which I love. And that's how we see a lot of these passwords these days, right? So my tip for doing passwords, yes, you can write them down though. I need to say that. You can write your passwords down. You can store them in a password safe. Just make sure that the password safe is an external device that you can lock into a safe, that if you're writing them down, you lock it in a safe, and that, only you have access to that safe unless you die, in which case somebody important should have access to that safe too. So my tip, I use music lyrics, or used to use music lyrics for my passwords. So then I changed the letters to numbers and make it confusing. But what Kurt's referring to is, for a long time, all of my passwords were Linkin Park songs. And I would start singing Linkin Park songs all around work, and people got really annoyed with me. But yeah, I use a song lyric can be really long, and they're easy to remember.
Yep.
And yeah, that's my tip.
That was I love that tip. Could you do you mind? Can you go back to a previous slide? Because on the right side you had the consequences of being. Can we touch on that? And we do have a comment. We have a question.
Yeah.
So John, our dear buddy John, thanks for stopping by, brother. Verizon, as well as other carriers, flagged potential spam on incoming calls. Helped when my extended warranty was up and breach of my social number 8 times a day. So that's a great.
Yeah, thank goodness for that, man. Except I am getting called by somebody every single day from a different phone number, and it's driving me insane.
And Jeff, our buddy Jeff in Jersey, he asked, what's your opinion with a password service like Dashlane?
I don't actually know that one.
Okay.
And I can't promote or otherwise any particular technology.
Yep.
My recommendation is that it should be encrypted, and preferably it should say that it's FIPS, FIPS,
Okay.
FIPS validated encryption, or
Yep.
FIPS level or NSA level. That'll work too, but it should be that level of encryption. It should not be on the computer itself. So that includes software, although depending on your application, software might be okay. But if you're talking like a bank account, no. And definitely not browser-based. Definitely not.
Okay. Perfect.
Cool.
Excellent tips. And then we have one more comment just came in from Eric.
Good.
Password crackers and brute force technologies utilize dictionaries and processing power to work effectively. Passwords 16 characters longer are generally effective as they take years, sometimes eons, to crack. And so
Yes and no. I'm
no.
gonna correct that right here.
Sure.
There we go.
So that is true, like longer better, as long as the password, so mention dictionaries, but I'm going to define what a dictionary is in this case. It's not just Webster's. They also have a compilation of every password that has ever been hacked before, included in that dictionary. So if your password was hacked 2 years ago on a different account, that gives it the time to crack it, and then they will try it on all the accounts they can find. So that's why it's really important to change your password, even if it's long. Change it. Okay, keep going.
Right. And so I know, Damon, you're a big ABBA fan, right? Bee Gees, ABBA. So we can go back to disco and pull those lyrics out. So we'll be thinking
I'm
about
ready
that.
for it. I'm
Yeah.
ready for it. Yeah.
But see, here's the trick now. If you start singing these songs, everybody's gonna know where your password comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't use "Drop the Bomb on Me" anymore for our
Yeah. No, we can't. We can't. We're gonna have to change that.
Celia, sorry, we're chiming in on your.
So that's what I like. I enjoy it.
And again, I'm not sure how much you have left, but I'd really like for you to touch on. This is really powerful for folks to take a look at what you have on the common impacts. Could we touch on this real quick?
Absolutely. So these impacts are not in order. They're in order so that I could put this whole 404 error sign in. But other than that, they're not in any kind of order. But types of impacts. Embarrassment. This is, if you are breached, your different states have different notification laws. And some are like, you have 15 days to send out a notice to all of your customers that you have been breached. That's an example of a state-based notification law. Mm-hmm. So all of your customers get a notification that your business was hacked and their information may have been compromised. That is going to drive down business. That's the embarrassment model. Now, if on the other side, if your business is hacked and like your website is defaced, or think about Zoom. And again, this is, remember my disclaimer. So Zoom had a big problem with Zoom bombing, right? People would find the information, log in, and especially this was bad for, schools or children. Yep. And they would start playing inappropriate stuff, Zoom bombing. And that caused huge embarrassment for Zoom. And they had to immediately react and do something to fix it. Misinformation could be something as simple as this has happened too. Small business website is up. Somebody, a former employee from that company is fired and is mad that they were fired. So they deface the company website to say this company is out of business and misled all these customers who all of a sudden thought this company was out of business. Simple things like that. This one is key, weakened ability to innovate. If you don't have some kind of method in your business to handle risk, including cybersecurity risk, it hampers your ability to innovate financially. You want to all of a sudden do business in Great Britain. Great Britain has privacy laws. Maybe you can't do business with them. Different things like this. But the most important one down here is out of business. Depending on the cost, could put you out of business.
Yeah.
And have you seen those examples?
Oh yeah, I've seen examples of all of these.
Yep. Okay. Wow.
In fact, there was a statistic a few years ago that came out that said somewhere along the lines of 30% of businesses who experience an attack are out of business within a year.
Wow.
I don't know how valid that statistic is, so I don't include it, but it is there. So I want to touch on this slide real quick, because this is how we fix it in a business. This is how we fix all kinds of risks, but especially cybersecurity risk. And it used to be frame, assess, respond, monitor, but the word respond got complicated. So now it's frame, assess, implement, and monitor. You frame your business constraints. This is, the legislation that you have to follow, the state-based rules that you have to follow. If you're in an industry like pharmaceuticals, there's going to be a lot of regulations that you're expected to follow. Some of those include things that impact cybersecurity or impact your information technology networks. So that's the negative. Frame the business constraints, but also frame your business goals. Where do you want to go? Do you want to start doing business in Europe? Is that a goal? Do you want to do business with the Department of Defense? Is that a goal? You need to have some goals where you want to go to, because this whole frame, this is going to scope your efforts. It's going to frame how you attack cybersecurity. This is key, because if you don't do this, then it just becomes money going out the window like water. This is the frame for everything that you do, not just in cybersecurity, but in any time you're dealing with risk. So then we assess. In cybersecurity, you assess the risk posture. This is where are you today? A lot of times it helps to have a third party come in and do this. This is where a lot of our MEP centers really focus, is coming in and helping you assess your current risks.
And Celia, if you don't mind, so let's talk about that just half a second. So just so everybody knows, for anybody not familiar with the MEPs, that's the Manufacturing Extension Partnerships. They are located in all 50 states. As Celia said earlier, there's one within, like you said, most remote areas within 2 hours. Here in New York, I think we have 9 or 10 different centers. Pennsylvania has like 6 or 7, Ohio 6 or 7. So again, they are all over. Great resource for our manufacturers. So,
yep.
They definitely.
Yep. And as a matter of fact, real quick, so Mike Womack from the New Jersey MEP is our guest next week, and he'll be talking about his MEP center in New Jersey. So great. Thank you for, I just want to give a shout out to the MEPs.
Yes, I'm always happy to let you plug the MEP network.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's right. I knew it. Right. I know NIST loves that, right?
Absolutely. Come on. Why wouldn't I?
That's right.
So the next one, though, implement. This is when I talked earlier about you can accept the risk, you can mitigate the risk, you can, avoid the risk, and I forgot the other one. But you can do all these things for risk. This is where it comes into play. To be honest, some of the risk you can just ignore. Like, you probably don't care about, whether a nuclear arms missile is going to drop on your location, because frankly, if that happens, then we're all dead.
Good point.
So, risks like that, you can avoid it. Things that are outside of the frame that you constructed,
right,
maybe not worry about them so much. And implementing, like, is key, because you can have Fort Knox. You can build Fort Knox, sure. But what good would that do your business? Probably not a lot.
Mhm.
So when we implement it, we do it based on the assessment, and we do it on the business framing. What now can we do to reach those business goals, meet those constraints, and help you be secure?
Yep.
And then monitor. This process never stops. This process goes on and on. That's why it's shaped like a nice car wheel here.
Mm-hmm.
It just happens all at once. It happens together, and it happens over and over and over again. But you need to have this ingrained in the culture. So I like to talk about it like safety. We had this safety push several years ago, right? Safety first, safety first. It actually did work. A lot of people started paying attention to safety. Pretty much everybody knows the basics of safety for their job. It needs to be the same thing with security. Not just cybersecurity, but all security. You need to remind people, lock your doors, close the windows, things like that. Same thing with passwords. Change your passwords, run updates, do the basics over and over and over again until it becomes ingrained and until it becomes part of the culture. Okay, what else we got, Kurt?
We're man, Damon, did you have?
I've got a quick question because I've got a few friends of mine that are in the cybersecurity, and they're two things. They're talking about two-factor authentication. So I've got the old Google Authenticator and some other authenticators that I use, and I also use the one where it texts you to get a code to get in. Now, I've heard that those really aren't as safe as you think, because there's people out there that have your SIM cards and are just pulling that stuff too. So what do you hear about that?
So yes and no.
Okay.
So this is like people have a nice little tool that can run through all the frequencies of car door locks and steal your car that way. Yes, that is true. Does that mean it's worthless to lock your car every day? No, it doesn't.
Okay.
So the whole idea is make yourself a little bit harder than the person next to you.
Okay, good.
No, that's not great.
That's a great answer, because I love it. Yeah,
it's a great answer. Okay.
Don't be the slowest person running away from the bear. That's
Yeah,
what you're saying.
exactly.
Yeah.
And do what you can. The more you do, the better. And now, yes, probably soon somebody's going to come up with a solution to that cell phone based two-factor authentication. But right now, it's still the best thing that we've got that is also usable.
Okay, good.
Excellent.
What else?
Awesome.
I think so. We're man, this is phenomenal, Celia. So we've been just crushing it on time. We're at 2:15 on the East Coast here. Do you want to kind of take things home and just like any takeaway for everybody that they can apply?
So you're going to share. Are you going to share these slides to everybody?
Are we allowed to?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, perfect.
So I'm just say in these slides, there are these two documents. One is this small business guide, and that's for most companies. It walks you through the process of evaluating your company and identifying specific cybersecurity protections. Yep. I'm currently updating it, but don't let that sway you. The second one is more advanced, and this is specifically for DoD, but anybody can use it. And it's for manufacturers, but again, anybody can use it. And it's just more advanced. But then taking us home, do now, please, right as soon as we get off of this, go change your passwords. And also find out, get with your legal team, get with whoever, just to make a list of all the requirements that your business falls under. And then you can start going through those and identifying the cybersecurity aspects of them. This month, go to that small business guide, just go through it. It's really simple. It's down to earth, easy. Do an inventory of everything that has a chip. Everything that has a chip. Just do an inventory of it. And talk with any service providers that you do business with, and set up a time to go over your contract so that you can find out what they are doing to protect your information. And that's all I've got.
Man, now so they can. So I've dropped your LinkedIn profile in the chat box. So please, everybody, connect with Celia. Can they? And they're welcome to connect with you direct.
Yep.
Or can they ask?
Absolutely.
Yep. So please contact Celia direct.
I'm a
And we
little
do
bit
have-
slow on my LinkedIn responses, but I'll be there.
Yeah, she'll
Okay.
get around to you. But I have another question here for you from
Yeah.
Eric. Thank you,
And-
Eric. I tell you guys have been great. Thank you for the conversation here. This has been very eye-opening for me. This is a big weak spot. I'm not an expert here. And so Eric asks, hi, I have a concern question. In dabbling with software development, my biggest concern are zero-day attacks or unknown vulnerabilities. I'm curious to know, are there any ways the panel would suggest to actively and periodically audit my infrastructure for vulnerabilities? Great question, Eric.
So I'm going to list off a few numbers. Those numbers are NIST SP 800-160. So for Eric, if you're dabbling in software development, please take a look at NIST SP 800-160. Now that is our how to build things with security in mind. And it talks about 0 days. And if you're following certain best practices in the development, it reduces your chance of having those 0 days. And there's testing and things like that. But here's a key. Now I stopped sharing, but so well, no, we won't go into that. There are different parts of the risk equation, right? You need to be able to identify a risk, protect, detect, respond, and recover. The two key ones in this is respond and recover. So with a 0 day, there are unknowns. You need to be able to respond to them anyway and recover to them anyway. So have an ability to go back into a system and shut it down, have some process in place that you can apply whenever something happens.
Wow, that was what great. Jeez, this is phenomenal.
I've got an example just because we're listening and we're talking about manufacturers here. I've got a friend of mine that runs a manufacturing company, and they had this old big plasma cutter, right? And wasn't connected to anything else, but it was connected to the internet for some reason. And someone even hacked that old thing and killed it. They ended up having to, go to the manufacturer, get a new hard drive, start over from the beginning and load everything up and have them come in and reset it and rerun everything. So here's just because it's old sitting there, don't forget about that.
Here's a kind of scary case study that's been in the news several years ago, but it was a plant. I don't remember what they were building or doing, but they had a very old system, and somebody was able to hack into it and turn off the safety switch for the heat. And so it overheated. And the problem was that nobody shut it down. It welded itself together. So think of, having to replace something that had just gotten welded.
Yeah.
Wow, couple more comments here. So Sneha, she had challenges. Sneha, great to see you. I know you and I are connecting in another week or so. And Eric, I've had to recover from an attack before, and you're exactly right. The ability to respond and recover saved my server. So
I am so happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Yay.
It is. It's horrible. We even need to have these conversations. It's just awful that folks are just so malicious. And like you said, if they're chasing money, and just think if they put their time and energy into productive things, how much my goodness, they could create the next Facebook or the next SaaS product. And then instead they're trying to, cut a corner and maliciously. But just think of the folks that aren't even after money, that just, like you're saying, Celia, just do it for newsworthy, shut down a machine, shut down a community, a hospital. It's just, it's sad that
And you know what's sad to me, and this is not representing NIST, I should be very clear about that. But what's sad to me is that a huge majority of the attacks that happen are taking advantage of somebody's goodwill.
Yeah.
So they're trying to do the right thing, and here's somebody taking advantage of that. And I hate that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, guys, we're at, Celia.
Yeah.
I'm big applause.
Sorry, I like talking.
Thank you so much.
Big virtual applause. So, guys, again, I've dropped Celia's LinkedIn profile. Please connect with her. She had her email at NIST. She is a federal agent, right? Is that a good way to describe you? So she is an Army veteran. If you came on late and you missed that. So Celia, thank you for your service to our country. Thank you for your continued service as a civil servant, saving our manufacturers, protecting everybody. Guys, we're going to drop over. If you're on with us here, we're going to head over to the tables. You can talk with Celia, continue this conversation one-on-one. Guys, Chris Harrington, president from Gen Alpha, just dropped a note. She's our speaker in 2 weeks. Chris, I can't wait to hear what you're going to talk about. You and Celia should have a little conversation about what you guys have going on. A lot of symmetry. Damon, take it away. Thank you, brother. Appreciate everything. Celia, thank you.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Kurt. Celia, that was incredible once again. I'm just going to talk to everyone on LinkedIn for a second here. We're shutting down on LinkedIn Live, but thanks for joining us. Thanks for the comments there. And we will be dropping back to the tables.
Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend. Thank you.